Hello LBA people, this is Virgil here, and today we have Battle of the Week for Week 8. It's between, this is for the Delta Division. I will record a battle for the Zeta Division as well. So this is a battle between Squalo and Bailey or Sophie. So Squalo really needs the win in this battle, so he needs to bring his A game. He's been losing a lot and he needs to bounce off and make a comeback, and he prepared pretty well for this battle, so we'll see who's going to be the winner, since Sophie's not an easy target to beat even if you prepare very well. So he leads off with his Electros, as Sophie leads off with her Entei. So Sophie decides to switch out, thinking that this is not a good matchup. She's probably maybe predicting the knockoff, so she doesn't go into her Nidoking, even though Nidoking could potentially wall this Electros, but Electros actually goes for Thunder Wave, which is great against the Venusaur. Venusaur, I always say that Venusaur works on like long term, so if you paralyze it and cripple it from Synthesis, you can actually beat it pretty easily, compared to when it's fully healthy and can Synthesis exactly on the time that it wants to. So Mega Venusaur evolves, obviously, and Squalo here shows us the Acid Spray, which is awesome because this Venusaur went from undefeated to very weakened, and Venusaur also gets paralyzed in the first turn, so great start for Squalo as he goes for another Acid Spray. Now if I was in his place, I would simply go for Volt Switch and go to something that kills, but Sophie shows us the Sleep Powder, so unfortunately Sleep Powder will put this the poor Electros to sleep. Now I personally really hate Sleep Powder. It's because of its low accuracy, you really can't prepare for it like Spore. Anyways, so Sophie here goes for the Sludge Wave, and this does a lot. At the beginning you'd think it was Life Orbed, but it's not. So luckily for Squalo, this thing wakes up, goes for Knockoff, and drops down the Choice Scarf, which means that Gardevoir will be able to outspeed once it Mega Evolves and beat this Nidoking 1v1, unlike when it was Choice Scarf. So Nidoking goes for Sludge Wave, taking out the poor Electros, which did a good job by paralyzing Venusaur and knocking off the Nidoking. So here comes the Azelf, goes for Psychic, taking out the Nidoking. We don't see any items, so we could think that it's Focus Sash, but Spoiler alert, it's not. So here comes the Entei, which I'm expecting to be an Assault Vest, honestly, because we don't see leftovers during the match, and we can see her changing moves. So here, Squalo goes into his Entei, Arcanine, which has Flash Fire, taking the Sacred Fire, and then Squalo predicts the Rotom Wash probably, switches out and goes into his Latania, which is the Celebi, since it destroys the Rotom Wash. Unfortunately, Sophie is not choice locked with a choice band and goes for Stone Age. So here Squalo makes a very good play, in my opinion, by going into his Terrakion, which is like a middle ground because it can take a Sacred Fire, considering that if you don't get the burn, and it can take a Stone Age. Since, as we can see, Sophie did not go for Sacred Fire against the Celebi, she went for Stone Age, predicting the Entei. So very clever play on Squalo's part, and Sophie as well. So Squalo goes for Stone Age, doesn't predict here or anything, which kinda sucks because we can see Terrakion double resist the Stone Age, and he switches out, goes into his Arcanine, probably sacking it off maybe, or predicting Stealth Rocks as he will retaliate with Flare Blitz, but this is a fully offensive Cobalion, getting the KO with the critical hit. The critical hit mattered in the kill, but it didn't matter in the long run because the next close combat would have killed anyways, but we don't know, maybe Squalo could have switched out. So he then goes into his Celebi, which should wall this to some extent. I mean, Iron Head would hurt, but that's about it. And then Sophie switches out, goes back into her Entei. We see that the Entei is shiny, by the way, so that means it has an extreme speed on it, or potentially has an extreme speed. Squalo goes for Reflect, which means he has Walls Celebi. Walls Celebi, this could help him a lot because he has a Gardevoir, and with the walls he can just have Gardevoir shout from behind the walls. Sophie does go for the Sacred Fire, doesn't get the burn, which isn't the biggest deal in the world because we know that Celebi has Natural Cure, and anyways, Squalo shows us that he wants to sack it off by going for Sacred Fire and then getting the burn and retaliating with the Giga Drain. So This Giga Drain won't do anything. I think this thing is a Soul Fist, honestly, I'm not entirely sure. But the Sylvie does go down to the Sacred Fire. Honestly, getting the burn is better for Esquilo because he wants the longest turn to reflect on his side, and living for an extra turn would just be very, very negative to him, besides stalling out the Circuit Fire PP. So then he goes into his Terrakion and pulls up the ridiculous Rock Polish. So right now he's putting all his money and hopes on getting the Stone Edge crit on the Rotom. So can Esquilo get the Stone Edge crit and get rid of this thing? So we see the Stone Edge here on the Rotom, and he does score the crit. So this is insane. Now the only thing between Terrakion and victory is Venusaur getting paralyzed or getting critted. So can we see that? So we see Venusaur here comes back again and loses some of his health to the Stealth Rocks. Terrakion goes for Stone Edge, lands the Stone Edge. Can Terrakion get a crit? Terrakion does not get a crit, which means can this thing break through paralysis? And Venusaur does break through paralysis. Now this was literally the only thing between Esquilo and victory with his Terrakion, but unfortunately Venusaur does break through, and luckily for Sophie, or actually not luckily, it's the higher chance, 75% to break through paralysis. So she did get the fair roll for her. And then Esquilo does still have his Gardevoir. So he sends out his Gardevoir, Mega Evolve, goes for Psychic over Psyshock, because we all know Psyshock is is a terrible move if you don't have Calm Mind. It's not really a terrible move, but I mean most, like, even if some Pokemon have lower defense, usually Psychic and Psyshock, the 10 difference covers it. So usually Psychic is better unless you have Calm Mind. So he goes for Psychic, taking out the Venusaur. We see the Cobalion here, and we already know that this thing's Life Orb, and we already know that Gardevoir has pitiful defenses. He goes for Iron Head, but the Reflect is up, so this is huge. This is huge. Gardevoir manages to survive that. Goes for the Hyper Voice, KOing the Cobalion. Now I think the only Pokemon remaining are the Latios for Sophie, and the Latios and the Entei, and the Pokemon remaining for Esquilo are the Gardevoir and the Azelf. So we see Shadow Ball here, taking out the Gardevoir. It's a Life Orb Shadow Ball, so there's no way Gardevoir would have survived that from a Latios. So he goes into his Aladdin, which we predict him to be Choice Scarf. Goes for Dazzling Gleam, and it doesn't get the KO. It almost gets the KO, but unfortunately it does not. And then Latios retails with a Shadow Ball, and we don't see a Focus Sash. Even if we saw Focus Sash, Entei would have just came in and went for Extreme Speed. And this would seal the game at a super close 2-0 in favor of Sophie. So hopefully you guys enjoyed, and we'll see you guys next time with the Zeta Division battle. Bye.